So if you would, please welcome Bruce Rauner.
Restoring Illinois, bringing back conservative principles to our state, limited government, low taxes, individual liberty, personal responsibility. It's what we're all about. To do that takes leadership. You're very blessed in Quincy. You have a great leader. Give a round of applause for Dan Bushel. Before I start, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you in this room. It's your commitment, it's your patriotism, it's your passion, it's your hard work. It's you networking and talking to your neighbors and sending out flyers and knocking on doors and making phone calls. That's how we build the conservative cause in Illinois. That's how we win elections. That's how we restore our principles. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you in this room for your commitment and your patriotism to our country. It's an honor to be with you. I'm here because I love the state of Illinois passionately. I was born and raised here. I am very protective of my home, our home. I will fight with everything I've got to protect our home. I want our children, I want our grandchildren to have a great future in our state. And if we don't transform our government in Springfield, our children, our grandchildren will not have a good future in our state. We have lost our way. We're the worst run state in America. We have the worst governor in America. We have the most corrupt legislature in America. We are the most hostile to free market capitalism of any state in America. We are out of control. And we are deteriorating. It's not just, we can't just nibble around the edges. We have entered into a death spiral where jobs are leaving, tax base is eroding, tax rates are rising, regulation is strangling us, schools are deteriorating. We are in a death spiral, and we can't just nibble around the edges. We've got to take on the special interest groups that have got Springfield by the throats, and we've got to change it. And I've completely lost my confidence that the career politicians in Springfield will ever get the job done. I just have completely lost my confidence. And unlike many of my friends who said, Bruce, give it up, move to Florida with us, or come to Dallas with me, or let's move the company to Tennessee, I say, no, no, I will fight with everything I've got to restore the prosperity of Illinois around the principles that have made us the greatest nation in the history of the world, and that's limited government, low taxes, individual liberty, personal responsibility. I will fight with everything I've got. So I'm all in. We're going to win this race. I'm the one person who can stand up in Springfield and fight for the taxpayers and the small business owners, homeowners, school children, and their parents. Because you know what? I don't need a job. In fact, this ain't going to be the best job I've ever had. I don't need a political career. That's not what I'm interested in. I don't want my name in the newspaper. That's not what I'm interested in. And nobody can intimidate me. Nobody can influence me. Nobody can bribe me. Nobody can, you know what? I don't owe anybody anything. And I'm completely financially independent. And I'm doing it because I love this state and I want to go to work for you and every voter in this state. That's exactly why I'm doing it. I'm running for governor. And I'm going to win. I'm going to take on those special interest groups. Let's be clear what's going on in Springfield. The government union bosses, the folks who make their money from the taxpayer, from the government, own the government. They own the politicians in Springfield. They've got a stranglehold on our political system in Illinois. They own the Democrats almost completely. And unfortunately for us, they've bought a heck of a lot of the Republicans in Springfield too. We in the Republican Party don't like to talk about it, but it's true. I'm the only person in this race who's never taken a nickel from a government union boss. Only one in this race. You can look it up. And I never will take a nickel from the government union boss. It's a conflict of interest with the taxpayers of our country. And even Democrats will acknowledge that occasionally. Not always, but occasionally. Even Franklin Roosevelt, the powerful Democrat, pro-union president, was against government unions because even he would acknowledge they're organized against the public good. It's a conflict of interest. And when those government union bosses bribe the politicians to give them high pay, free health care, unaffordable pensions, it's a conflict of interest. And they do that in exchange for giving $20, $30 million to the governor's race or the legislative races. It's a conflict of interest. It's a corrupt system. Somebody's got to stand up and fight for the taxpayers, and I'm the one who's going to do it. And I will deliver the results. And I've been studying with Mitch Daniels. He's my role model. I've been in Indianapolis studying with him. They transformed Indiana. And he took on the government union bosses by executive order. And I'm going to do the same thing. I've been studying with Scott Walker up in Wisconsin. We're studying with Rick Snyder over in Michigan. They're transforming their states. They're doing what we need to do here in Illinois. And we're going to bring their best people and their best ideas from those states, and we're going to take on Springfield like it's never been taken on before. And I'm excited and energized to go to work for you. You know, it's a big decision to run. I'm not a politician. I've never run before. I've been around battling politics my whole life. Education reform, pension reform, improving the business climate. I've been battling for 30 years, most of my career. We debated around the dinner table, my wife and I. We've got 6 kids. We had all 6 kids in town, and we were sitting around having dinner. We debated whether I should run. My youngest daughter said, "Daddy, don't run for governor. I don't want you to go to jail." Because they have a comment when a 13-year-old girl knows that's what our governors do. And I said, "Katie, one of the reasons I probably will run is I want to take on those corrupt rascals down there because there's still a lot of corruption down in Springfield, and I want to prosecute it. And I want to change the regulations so they can't engage in the kind of baloney that they're doing down there." So I'm running for office, and I'm going to focus like a laser on 4 things. Like a laser. 4 things. Number 1, restore free market capitalism, free enterprise system in Illinois, so we're pro-business, pro-growth, pro-job creation. Less regulation, lower taxes, economic freedom, so we have a booming economy. Nothing else is more important than that, because if we don't do that, our kids don't have future jobs, and we can't afford health care or education or anything else. Priority 1. Priority 2, take on the spending in Springfield, dramatically reduce it so it can reduce the tax burden on all of our homeowners and our business owners. And to do that, we got to take on the government union bosses, the broken Medicaid system, the unaffordable pensions, and I'm going to focus like a laser and bring business discipline and business principles to Springfield. We're going to run it like a business, and we're going to take the spending down. Number 3, focus on education. When we do spend a taxpayer dollar, education and training should be the focus. Education is the most important thing we do together collectively as a community. That's our future democracy, that's our children's future income, that's our competitiveness, that's our workforce. Education and training should be world-class in Illinois in every school district. And I've fought for 25 years. My wife and I fund charter schools. We fund vouchers, scholarships for poor kids, teacher training. We fund merit pay for high-quality teachers, and I've battled for years to get rid of tenure for ineffective teachers. We've got to break up the system and have competition and choice in our education system. And then number 4, I believe we've got to have term limits on every elected official in Springfield. We have got to get that done. It's so corrupt. The power of incumbency is so intense down there. We can't get these folks out of there. We've got career politicians who are holding their office for decades. Same office for decades. And they're there, many of them, for the wrong reason. They make their money because of their political power. They've got a law firm on the side, they've got a business on the side, and they make millions of dollars because of their political power. It's wrong, it's corrupt, and the only way we can get them out of there is term limits. We've got to say, you know what, when George Washington founded our nation, he could have been president for life. In fact, a lot of Americans wanted George Washington to be king. And he said, no, I'm going to be a public servant, I'm going to work for the people of America for 8 years, and then I will leave office. Let a new leader emerge. Think of the quality of the philosophy of good government that enabled for us, and how much that's benefited us for the last 230 years. We need that philosophy in Springfield. I think everybody in Springfield should serve for 8 years at the most, and then leave and go do something else. Go back to the private sector or go run for a different office if you want, but you don't stay in the same position you have. And I'll term limit myself if I'm honored enough to be your governor, but I want it on the legislature. And rather than just talk about it, like the politicians do, in business we don't talk about stuff, we get it done. I've recruited an organization to come to Illinois. It's called U.S. Term Limits. They're a national group that put term limits on 15 state legislatures around America already. I've recruited them to come here. They're the ones who started this petition drive. They're a separate organization. We need to collect 300,000 signatures by next May. That would chump change. I mean, that's a lot of work. But with passionate leaders and patriots like you, we've got the petitions here. If you would help and get them signed and help them circulate, we'll get the petitions signed, 300,000 signatures by next May. And when we do that, we're going to get it on the ballot. It's going to be a constitutional referendum on the ballot in November of 2014. And when it's on the ballot, it will pass because term limits are supported by the vast majority of voters in both political parties. 2/3 of Democrats and 3/4 of Republicans support term limits. It will pass. Madigan will sue, Madigan will run ads, The answer is, it's gonna pass, we're gonna get it done, they can't block it. And then that whole crowd, 8 years and out. And you can't leave and come back, you can't hop houses, you serve and you leave and you don't come back. We've gotta break up that culture and we're gonna get that done. I'm gonna run Springfield like a business. We are gonna take on those special interest groups like no career politician can. I'm the one person who's gonna do it. Let me tell you quickly about myself and my background, and then let's do Q&A and really go deep on the issues on the race and background, and ask me the hardest questions. Don't give me the mammy stuff, but I know you guys can do it. So, I was born and raised in Illinois. I grew up in Deerfield in Lake County. My dad was an electrical engineer, worked at Motorola in Schaumburg. My mom was a nurse at Northwestern University Hospital. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. My dad was German. I'm half German, half Swedish. German Catholic, Swedish Lutheran. My parents argued about it, and I was raised Episcopalian. You know, what are you gonna do? My best friend, I'm the oldest of 4 kids. My best friend growing up was my Swedish grandfather. My mom's family was immigrants from Scandinavia. And they were dairy farmers in Wisconsin. I grew up milking cows. My grandfather, my grandparents lived in a little double-wide trailer in a cornfield in Wisconsin. I still do a little ranching and farming myself. I got it in my blood and I love it, but that's not my real business. My real business is the investment business. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I'm a hunter, gun owner, big bird hunter, Second Amendment advocate, avid Harley rider, big outdoorsman. When I worked, I worked my way through school. I had paper routes and worked at McDonald's and flipped burgers and parked cars. I'm not happy if I'm not working. I'm a workaholic. I have to be working or I'm not happy. And in college, in the morning at 5 a.m., I was the breakfast chef in the morning for pancakes and eggs in the school cafeteria. At night, I was a radio newsman. I got a voice for radio. All of my friends who see my political ads say, Bruce, you do have a great voice for radio, but you have a face for radio too. Stay off the television. And I say, no, we're going to run TV ads and radio ads. We're going to get the message out. When I graduated from college, I met 2 executives who were at the First National Bank in Chicago, and they were leaving the bank to start a venture capital firm. I met them, they liked me, they hired me. I was employee number 5 at a startup investment firm, 1981. I worked hard, I found a couple little technology companies, and they grew big and made me very successful. So they made me a partner in 1983, and then I went on and I became a head of the firm in 1987. I was at the age of 31. And we built that firm into one of the most successful investment companies in America. I was there for 32 years. We built dozens of successful companies, and I'm a passionate free market capitalist. Free market capitalism is the reason we're the most prosperous nation in the history of the world. Free market capitalism is the #1 poverty-fighting engine ever devised by mankind. And I'm a proud advocate for free market capitalism. One of the things I'm proudest of, not only do we build successful businesses, but we manage state pension money. Not many people know this, but in the United States, the #1 funder of private equity and venture capital in America by far is state government pension funds, by far. And so state pension funds invested in our firm. State of Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, state of Washington. And while the Illinois pensions over the last 30 years were making about 7% return on average, something like that, 7.5. My firm, my partners and I generated more than 17% compound annually for 30 years. From that, 2.5 times what the pensions were making on their own, outside of management. I know how to run the pensions, I know how to fix them, and I know how to get them working so we've got money to save taxpayer dollars, but also allow for decent retirements for our honest government workers. And we've got to transform the pensions. We can talk about that. So I'm going to take the business principles that I learned from our success and apply it in Springfield. We're going to run it like a business. In business, we know how to assemble talented teams of people to get stuff done, find the best people with the most expertise, get them on a team and drive with a team result. No one person gets anything done. It's always a team effort. Handle tough budgets, cut costs, handle tough contract negotiations with unions, really meet a plan, drive a result. I've done that my whole life in everything that I've touched. I'm excited to apply those principles for you as governor in Springfield. My running mate is a superstar. I can't wait for you to meet her. I was hoping she's come tonight, but she's campaigning, I think, in Lake County tonight. Her name is Evelyn Sanguinetti. She's a superstar. She is a fascinating American success story. Her mom was a refugee from communism in Cuba. Her dad was a legal immigrant from Ecuador, poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere. Evelyn's mom had Evelyn when she was 15 years old. single teenager living in poverty. Evelyn and her mom lived in the tenements, the ghettos outside of Miami. Brutal neighborhood, on food stamps, one step ahead of the landlord, but Evelyn battled her way through bad schools and tough neighborhood. She got a scholarship to Florida International University, and then she went to John Marshall Law School in Chicago. And then she became, she worked her way up, she became Assistant Illinois Attorney General under Jim Ryan. She got elected to the Wheaton City Council, where she's a superstar running that community. She's a leader in the DuPage County GOP, and very importantly, she's a leader in the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. She's a passionate, she's a believer in traditional family values, free market capitalism, wonderfully conservative, passionate, articulate spokeswoman. And she's going to do a great deal for us as conservative Republicans to bring many Hispanic voters over to our side. That's critical for election success. And as Evelyn likes to say, Bruce, most Hispanic voters in America are Republican, they just don't know it. You know, they are about faith and family and hard work and no handouts. And they should be and could be, with proper communication and sharing of views. Many of them can be voting Republican. We're going to work hard to get that done here in Illinois. That's a key for victory. So Ellen and I are excited to go to work for you. The race is going really well. We put 39,000 miles on the Ford the last 6 months driving the state. I put a couple thousand miles on the Harley. When the weather's good, I ride the Harley to the events. The big challenge of the race is keeping my vocal cords working. I have never talked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have to drink chamomile tea and honey and keep the. I was in Rockford a couple weeks ago, and I did 4 TV interviews, 2 radio interviews, 3 fundraisers, and 3 speeches in one day. And the last speech was at night, outdoors in a backyard with no microphone to 200 people. And I was yelling, I was talking loud, but then the neighbor turned on his lawnmower. I think he was a Democrat. And I had to yell for an hour. I mean, I yelled for an hour, and my vocal cords were, that's a tough joke, but they're coming back now. But the 2 biggest surprises of the race, 2 really big surprises. The number 1 best surprise is how much fun campaigning is. It's a blast. The people at stake are great. I love the process. I love meeting great patriots like you guys, talking about solutions to our problems. And I love going to county fairs and pulled pork, I love pulled pork sandwiches and, Lincoln Day dinners and Reagan barbecues and corn balls. It's a blast. And the bad surprise is how many more companies are leaving the state than I realized. Because I'm traveling the state. I've met with hundreds of business owners, and I can't tell you how many of them said, Bruce, you'd be a great governor and I'll help you. I might give you a little money, but I'm not sure I can vote for you because we're moving this company across the border to Wisconsin, or we're moving to Indiana, or next year we're moving the company to Texas, or whatever. It's a major problem. If we don't turn this around and get our hands on it real fast, we are stuck. We don't have a future. We have got to get our hands on it. So I'm excited to go to work for you. God bless you.